have some alphabet soup. Yep, that's true. All right. Well, welcome to my set. Thank you all for showing up this week. I have not given a talk in a while, so I figured it was time that I actually step up and contribute a little bit as well. Now I'm going to see if this camera follows me. Sometimes it doesn't. Nope, I think it's on you, Richard.
Really like Richard today.
Yeah. So we may see just Richard back of his head there. Advertising. Well, watching.
We try to wave at it. Sometimes they go by gestures.
Wave. Okay, going. Waving.
You have to reset the track on the control.
I will just, when I'm talking, I will stand over here. Actually, I'm too tall for that, so I'm gonna sit over here. And I'll probably get up and stand and stuff too. All right. So, we have a lot of cool things coming up in our cybersecurity community. We have B-Sides coming up in a couple weeks.
Oh, a month.
In
May 30th, right?
May 30th, yeah.
In a little over a month. Yep, and then GERCON is coming up a little bit later. We'll see if how the CSA comes through. Just Grand Rapids has a great cybersecurity community, and just the fact that you all are here, like that's one way to contribute is by just networking with the people that are around you. That's really what my sec's about. So I'm really glad that you're all here tonight. For any of you that don't know me or don't know me very well, I am Esquire Triggs. I help run the Grand Rapids chapter of MySec. And yeah, what was that? That was a teaser that wasn't supposed to happen. I'm currently the director of IT and InfoSec and GRC, and I'm also the privacy officer for the company that I work for. I've been in IT for nearly 30 years, and I've had the honor of contributing to the improvement in IT and cybersecurity and compliance internationally. I've led teams that have changed how government agencies, defense contractors, and businesses of all sizes, how they run. I've helped facilitate some standards that are out there, along with doing those things. Once COVID hit, I decided I should probably get a degree, so I got a bachelor's degree in information assurance and cybersecurity. And then I pursued a master's degree in information technology management. Those took me 16 months, but it was COVID. So we got to spend a lot of time at home just working through whatever we wanted to. Currently, I have some alphabet soup, as you can see here, and it's right around 40 certifications I've had over my career. And with starting about 30 years ago, since you're sitting right over here, Rob, my first year working in IT, I started working with him, and we've had 4 different companies. I think it was 4, right? That we've worked at.
GPS, yes.
Yeah, 4 different companies that we've worked at together since then. I think it's a testament to that, we have good connections, but it's also, like this is a small community, cybersecurity community, IT community. If you spend any time in it, you're going to be around the same people. So I just think that's a great thing. So now, this talk, before I actually say what this talk is called or what it's about, who can tell me what AI stands for?
Asset inventory.
Asset inventory could be one, absolutely. What else do we have?
Can
Can't think of any other ones, to be honest. That's all I've got.
So what was that, Jesse?
That's Apple integration.
Thank you, Apple integration.
Application interface.
Nice. All right, so who can tell me what the AI I'm probably going to be talking about?
Actual intelligence.
Or actual intelligence that's close.
Apple intelligence.
Acclaimed intelligence.
Remember all those good things I was saying about the cybersecurity community? Stretching.
This is the other side of that.
All right, so
Artistic.
I was practicing this too. Agathokakological intelligence. No.
Agathokakological.
Agathokakological.
Agatha.
Say that 10 times fast.
Agathokakological intelligence.
Sounds
Right?
Greek.
Agathokakological intelligence. I seriously practiced that word all afternoon, and I was saying it in the car, and I was like, "Oh, this is easy." Agathokakological intelligence. You know,
You gotta let the Midwestern accent carry you through it, so it's agathokakological.
Agathokakological. I was actually corrected earlier today by somebody saying it would not be kakological. Kakological.
It's funnier that way though, it's honest.
It is. So, agathokakological intelligence. Does anybody know what this word means? And can anybody else say it? All right, let's break this down. Ag,
Ag.
atha,
Although.
cock,
Um,
and everybody giggles. Come on, I mean, middle school here.
Professionals.
Oh.
Logical,
Logical.
agathokakological.
agathokakological.
Man, you guys got it so much faster than I did. So agathokakological is when something has both a good side, it can be used for good, but it can also be used for evil. It can be good, it can be bad. There was a shield in mythology that I don't remember the name of it, but it was used to protect Athena. And it had Medusa's head embedded in it. So it could be used to protect her, but at the same time, it had Medusa's head and could turn things to stone. It was considered agathokakological. So is anybody here familiar with the Haber-Bosch process?
No.
So in the early 1900s, there were some scientists, and they figured out that you can take nitrogen from the air and make artificial nitrogen compounds. One of the first things that was done with it on a wide scale back in 1913 was making it into fertilizer. So there's at that time, agriculture was kind of struggling. Like you can think of, I don't know the exact dates, but there was like the Dust Bowl out west, and even, you know, throughout history, there's always been a struggle to get enough food for the amount of people. And then you look at the growth of population over the 20th century, and trying to keep up with that just would not have been possible without artificial fertilizers. So this process of taking nitrogen out of the air made it so you no longer had to use manure or guano in order to make your fertilizer. It really expanded agriculture. The same process that in 1913 was made into an industrial process. It actually was developed before then, but it was made into an industrial process. And there were, like one of the factories that were originally set up could produce 30 tons of fertilizer a day. So like that was something that just exploded. Well, it kind of did, because it was then used going into World War One to produce different weapons and explosives. And they would use the same things as fertilizer would, say manure as fertilizer would, and part of the process of getting the nitrogen and creating some of the other components, the ammonia, as what was used for fertilizer. In fact, because this process was invented, Germany kind of early on in World War One was running out of munitions. They were running out of any way to fight. But then this process was there, and they figured out how to make this use it into making weapons, which actually expanded the war for Germany. And then from there, in 1915, it progressed to the next thing, where it was used to make poison gas. So now we have something that was originally used to figure out how to make fertilizer, to fix hunger problems that are going on, to fix agriculture problems, that was developed into, I mean, that was a great thing. It was developed into something that could be used for very evil things. In fact, one of the developers of it, Fritz Haber, he was actually there for the first poison gas attack. And so he oversaw that whole process. So there's this what's the word I'm looking for? Agathokakological. It's one of those things that can be good, it can be bad. We have these discussions amongst ourselves all the time about AI. Is AI good? Is AI bad? Is artificial intelligence actually going to just take over the world and take away everything we know right now? Or is it going to make it better? I mean, we have these benefits I threw up here. I was like, okay, personal assistance and growth. There have been times where I've been like, okay, I've got this huge project. I need to figure out how I can manage it better. What am I missing? And I would go to AI and say, hey, what do you think about this? And it gives me all of these ideas. And it's like, oh, I hadn't even thought of those. It just took from this huge pool and it synthesized for me something that actually helped me personally. At the same time, there's a lot of invasion of privacy because it takes what often will take what you're feeding it, and it'll learn from it, and it'll add it to its pool, and some of the AI out there, depends on which one you're using and which licenses you actually trust that they're actually following what they say. Some of them will keep your information more contained. Others really share it pretty widely. And so you have that invasion of privacy, and you have the possibility of manipulation. You're taking this information, you're looking for this advice, and the system, AI tends not to be 100% unbiased. It's one of the goals, and we'll actually talk about that a little bit later, of some of the frameworks out there for AI. But it's actually not 100% unbiased, and so it can be used to manipulate people. You can also feed it a whole bunch of information to fool it into thinking that your information is right, because it's the majority quantity of information. And there's always rules that are being put around it to help with that. And then there's also reliance. Like, there's people out there. I know there's students out there, because my wife is a brilliant professor, And she lets me know, like, one of her struggles is students that just take from AI and present it as their own work. And so that's one of the things that being a professor in today's culture is just a part of it is trying to make sure that people understand how to use AI without having AI just become their own intelligence. From an enterprise perspective, we were just talking about how AI shares information amongst other AI, depending on the licensing that you have and the systems that you have in place. So it can improve innovation, it can improve efficiencies, but it can also leak your company's information, your intellectual property, or PII for people that you are supposed to be keeping this information secure. It can leak it out to the rest of the world. Not to mention the AI hallucinations. I think that those are so fantastic, just because it gives me a little security in that it's good to be human. Not that we don't do our own form of hallucinations. With AI hallucinations, for anybody that's not really familiar with them, AI will take a lot of information, synthesize it together to come up with a great answer. And somewhere along the lines, it'll be like, oh, I don't know these numbers. I don't know this actual information, but this makes sense to me. And then it makes stuff up. So, for instance, using it for accounting reporting, that can be a problem if you don't have anybody that's double checking the AI.
Yeah, I had Claude make something up just the other day and I had to yell at it, go, hey, that isn't true. Like, it's just not true. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, if you don't know, why are you so confident? He said, well, I'll backtrack on that then. I'm like, good, remember that.
Right, until you ask it the same question again, and it'll give you the same answer.
I didn't test that quite yet.
That would be a fun one. Let me know how that turns out.
Please.
It does.
Yeah, so then there's some other things like improving our security processes. Again, it's taking synthesized information. It can pull from best practices. It can help give guidance on how we can better implement security. And at the same time, like this last week or two, Mythos came out and discovered a whole bunch of 0 days. Well, Mythos is just one of the AIs out there that are doing this. What are the other AIs that are out there doing the same thing? Who has control of those? Who has possession of those? Which means who has possession of those 0 days? And what else can they get access to? And going along with that, faster vulnerability discovery. That's a huge benefit for us to actually be able to find these vulnerabilities faster. The downfall of that is faster vulnerability discovery. So there's also been talk about, from a more of a society standpoint, AI taking over certain types of jobs, AI producing things faster, and there not being a need for people to do different types of jobs, which can lead to a lack of purpose for people who think that is their field. That's the thing they learned. That's what they thought they were going to be doing with their life. Now they have to rebuild it. They have to figure things out again. There's also scientific discoveries. I saw a report on AI being used to test the uses of stem cells in healing different diseases and combinations of how the stem cells are being used and how different chemicals are being used and how much using AI is improving those processes. But at the same time, AI can be used for that. It can be used for developing new diseases. It can be used for developing new weapons as well.
Jumping off of scientific discoveries and medical advancements, one of the things we actually have to thank for modern medicine is AI and neural networks were used in the synthesizing of GLP-1 agonists, which is commonly known as Ozempic.
Mhm.
We actually have that technology to thank for that.
Right. That is a excellent example. Thanks. All right, so we kind of, I feel like we have a responsibility. We have a lot of responsibilities. We have our responsibilities for ourselves personally and those that we affect personally. We have responsibilities at the enterprise or our corporate level to try to make sure that we're handling things with AI in a good way. And that's going to leak into like what we do as a collective, leaks into society, and is going to affect our future. So, there's the portion of AI that is personal. And I think that this is one that affects everybody. Everybody is responsible, in my opinion, for themselves. It's not their only responsibilities, but who else can be self-aware for us? Nobody else. Nobody can be self-aware for us. I mean, it's in the definition.
Mhm.
It's for us to actually recognize who we are, how we affect those around us, how we affect our community, how we affect our jobs and our coworkers. I always think that goal setting is important to like try to grow, and then the continuous learning. I'm not going to spend much time on all of this, but I just wanted to bring it up that this is no different than any other part of our lives. As we're trying to figure out the best ways to handle AI, to deal with AI, to incorporate it into our lives, it's up to us to never stop learning about it. Never stop learning what's good, what's bad, and to be open to, how those things may change over time. So since this is a cybersecurity talk-ish, then I figured I had to throw up a slide with the CIA there. AI, working with AI is no different. We need to have the right confidentiality in there. I mean, that's where we're just talking about information from intellectual property from our businesses that can leak over to the public internet if we don't have the right confidentiality in place. We need to have the good integrity of information. Those hallucinations that are out there, those AI hallucinations are showing a lack of integrity. And I think that's one of the things we're going to see AI companies continually working on is how can they make it so that their AI hallucinates less.
Mhm.
And availability. So as we're developing better AI out there, as we're becoming more, is this the right way to use this word? As we're becoming more agentic, as AI is becoming more agentic, as it's doing more tasks and we're relying on it more, we need to make sure that there's the appropriate availability of AI as well.
I would also tag on to that around availability. I think a big risk we have right now is all these people in businesses, and I'm going to pick on business leaders, the ones at the C-level that ask somebody to go do something, but then they're like, you know what, I'm just going to vibe code it in Claude or whatever. COO vibe code something. I literally got a package from my CEO this week of, hey, you're doing this project and you're using an Excel sheet to collect all this data. How about this new modern tool I just vibe coded? Okay, but how do you support it? Right? How do you ensure it actually works properly? How can you expand it? You made one domain in this web tool. You gave it to me. It's a single HTML file, and what does it output? How does it collect data? Have you looked at the code to see where the data goes? Like, we have all these vibe coded apps going on, but who's maintaining them in the future and making sure they're available?
yeah, that makes them become a single point of failure for the business.
Exactly.
And like, that's one of those things that in business, we're always trying to make sure there's some sort of, there's no single points of failure. There's always somebody to back it up, something to back it up, something to support it. Yep.
Yeah.
Agree 100%. So with all of these things, like actually trying to figure out, how do you make AI stay confidential? How do you encourage that integrity in AI, or try to make sure that there's the good oversight of it? And how do we make sure that it's available in the right ways to the right people? Because anything that you're doing with your AI, again, especially from a business standpoint, or even from a personal standpoint, if you value your privacy, you only want that available to the right people. So there are multiple frameworks out there, and I kind of lump them in with just some, not so much frameworks, but some good areas for me to share with you all, because I think it'll help stimulate some thought in how to manage AI going forward. So there's ISO 42001, which is a kind of becoming a standard in businesses for AI. There's the NIST AI Risk Management Framework, which if you're in the government space, that's going to be a little bit bigger for you there as well. Then I threw in some general things I think are good practices, and then the NACD. Does anybody know what the NACD is? This isn't like my AI question early on.
Agathokakological.
Athica is the National Agathokakological. No, it's not. It's the National Association of Corporate Directors.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The National Association of Corporate Directors is, from my perspective, the organization for boards to go to. It's where boards go and say, how am I supposed to be a member on the board? What should I be doing? What should I be looking out for? So going back to ISO 42001, its main goal is not, like most frameworks, it's not to give you the specifics. The main goal is not to make it so that you have a step-by-step. It's more give you some guidance that you can then fit your AI policies into. There are a lot of different steps and different things that controls that you need to meet, but it's more of that general oversight. You're going to notice that in here and in the next slide, there's a lot of crossover as well. So we're looking at governing AI responsibly and ethically, identifying and assessing and mitigating risks. We also want to make sure that you're watching out for like any regulations and regulatory expectations. And with whatever we're doing to help control AI and how we're using it, we need to make sure that we're also supporting the business. There's this thing that has gone on in IT and cybersecurity over the years, where there are people in our field that they look at what's the cool new IT thing, what's the cool new cybersecurity thing, what is the what are the controls that are like generic controls, and instead of looking at the business that they're supposed to be using this to support, they just look at the controls. It's very important that as IT and cybersecurity people, we're always looking back at the business. We're always trying to figure out how can we support what we are actually here to support, which is the business. With the NIST AI risk management framework, it's very similar. You're looking at governance, you're trying to gain understanding, you're trying to figure out metrics around things, and then figure out how do you actually prioritize the management of it, and how do you create good technical management around it. One of the things that the NIST AI RMF adds on is that trustworthy area. There's actually if you look up NIST AI RMF, one of the things that comes up is the NIST AI playbook. And that playbook is really all around the trustworthy part of it. And it goes through different aspects of AI and how you can ensure that this AI is going to be trustworthy. So just want to encourage you all, if you get a chance, go check it out. It's a good read. I like to keep a copy in my bathroom, so if I need some extra time in there instead of doom scrolling, just pull up a white paper. White papers are more fun anyway.
A man of productivity.
All right, so some of those good practices, and okay, this one's going to try to skip ahead. I was probably playing around with the template at some point. Yeah, and put some effects in. All right, so I'm going to have to go through this quick. This is all the stuff that I was talking about before. There's some links over there that talk about prompt injection. It's one of those things that with AI, one of the ways that you can get information you're not supposed to be able to get from AI is by using prompt injection. And there's a million tutorials out there now about how to do that. There's also, it's not an escalation attack. It's it's a musical term. Thank you.
Is that all right?
It's right. It's a crescendo attack. I'll feed it a little bit of information and you say, hey, I want to know how to make poison gas using the Haber-Bosch.
You do that on
And it'll say
accident.
no.
It happens a lot.
What was that?
You can do that on accident. I've done it before where I'll prime something with some very innocuous context and then I'll kind of pivot to something else because I'm errantly researching and then it'll just give me an answer and I'm like,
That's not what I was looking for. That's not what I was looking for.
Accidentally making poison gas.
no, not
Yeah.
that one, not that one. It's
She's
not
got a
right.
capsule of it in her bag.
Right.
Nope, that's not true.
I got-
Yeah, you just keep feeding it little bits of information, changing the context a little bit, but keep steering it back, and then it gives you the information that you actually were asking for that you weren't supposed to be able to get.
So lull it into a false sense of security.
Yeah, you social engineer AI. That's the best way to get
It's
whatever
just
you
like any
want out
other
of it.
system.
It is. I also have a little piece over here. I'm gonna walk away from the camera. That way the AI camera can't see me. I have a little piece over here on the right side of the screen here. And there's a link to a KB from a company that, well, it's Zoom. They had put into their AI, they had been trying to sell their AI as they were integrating a couple years ago. And they had put into some of the licenses, they were like, yeah, we protect all your information. We got the highest levels of security. We protect everything. We're not going to share anything. And they were like, but if you need to be HIPAA compliant or FERPA compliant, don't use our AI because we can't really guarantee it. And then there was a short time after then when in their terms terms of service, they had adjusted it so that it said, you know what, we're actually gonna take everything from all of your meetings and we're just gonna build it into our learning model so that our AI knows everything about your company and it will share it. It's gonna make our AI the best. Which somebody, I don't know who actually goes through and reads those terms of service that closely to figure that out.
Well, that's why we have AI, right, to do that for us.
The AI does it. Yeah, it was probably a competing AI.
If I could add on to your good practices, just from a business perspective, especially from a security business perspective.
Yeah.
I would absolutely encourage anyone at work to write the policy, or see if they have a policy that basically says, if you're gonna join a meeting, like a Zoom meeting or any other meeting, and there's, and you're gonna be talking about customer projects, et cetera. No AI note takers should be on that meeting, because you
Right.
do not control where that data goes. That data is going to a third company, and you have no control over that, especially if it's somebody else joining from, say, the client or a client partner.
Right.
I see that all the time, and I have to sit in those meetings and go, we can't talk until you disconnect this note taker, because we don't know where that data goes. And we have an NDA with you, we don't have one with this company.
Yep.
Be aware.
Yep, it is very important to be aware of those kinds of things. So with going back to Zoom, they backtracked after there were a bunch of lawsuits and there were some legislators that started giving them pressure, and they backtracked and said, okay, we're no longer actually going to do that. We were joking. We don't want all of your information. We'll go about this a different way. And I think that was a big turning point for a lot of companies out there, where they started creating better licenses and better controls around their AI. And when I talk about a lot of companies out there, I know there's still struggles with this, but like with Copilot and Claude and just some of those other AI out there, they started to actually develop better ways to secure information, or at least to make us feel like they are securing our information. All right, so now I'm back to that NACD. There is a document, I have it, it's a PDF I have down here on the bottom. There's so much good information in this PDF. There's there's multiple articles in there. The first one, I really should have just put the titles of all the articles on here, but the first one is AI, Friend or Foe? And it's a discussion at the board level of, is AI a friend or a foe? Which we know it is Agathokakological. I'm gonna get it one of these times. So towards the end of this PDF, there is a questions for board members. I'm not gonna go through all of the questions, but it's broken up into these different sections right here with the general questions, the AI risks, regulations, oversight, and the board's ability to oversee AI. I gave the number of questions that there are there, and then I grabbed a few of those questions because I thought it would be interesting to get some of your thoughts on those questions. So thinking about this in the terms of the place where you work. This is the hypothetical place that you work. If somebody were to ask you, how are our competitors using AI? Could you give a good answer? It's one of those things that makes you step out of your own little world and go, oh, there are other people trying to do the same thing that I'm trying to do, but they're maybe using AI, maybe they're not. Maybe in your field, it's not really been pushed through that much yet. But then going along with that, how are we using AI? just kind of actually taking the time to more than think about these things, but to actually, I would encourage you, be looking at questions like this, write down answers. Give yourself some time. Don't just be like, okay, so I'm gonna call out all of my kids here because I can ask them a question and I will get a third of the way through that question and I'll already have the answer coming at me. I don't know what kind of mind control they have going on or what kind of mind reading abilities they have going on, but they most of the time are pretty on point with what I'm asking. Don't do this to yourself when you do these questions. Take some time, give yourself more time than you need, and actually sit in some of these questions. How fast you really need to be going? Is the use of AI representing the shareholders' interests? Now, this is from the perspective of the board, but when you're not on the board and you're a part of what actually keeps that company running, you have shareholders as well. Are the things that you're pushing through, are those in the best interest of your shareholders? And apparently we fee obligated to do this. That might have been, my L is not working. No, it worked the line before. I can't use that. It worked in the same line. Okay, so do you feel obligated to do this?
I think we all do at some level right now.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a huge push for it.
So how much does that feeling obligated, right, actually push you into what you're doing versus taking the time to set up a good framework, to set up good policy, set up some sort of technical architecture to actually help control this from a technical standpoint, to put good auditing in place that will actually let you see when is, or a good DLP in conjunction with that, to let you see when information is about to leak out through your AI. So regarding AI and risk, what are the risks for our expected uses of AI? This question right here, what jumped out at me was the word expected. That's the one thing that I didn't really like about this question. There's a part of it that I do, and that yes, you should be looking at how is this going to be expected to be used in your environment. But at the same time,
answer what you expect it to be used for.
what was that, Ben?
I said you have to be able to answer the expectation of what it's going to be used for.
Right. But then we also, as cybersecurity people and as policymakers, we also need to be coming up with, how do we not expect this to be used in our environment? And how do we actually put controls on if it's going to be used or not used in these ways in our environment? Yeah, so for me, one of the things that, I don't know, just over the last decade has always been an area that I'm like, I don't feel like we're doing enough. I just don't feel like we're quite where we need to be. Even though we're making improvements, there's still this whole third-party supply chain. How are you creating controls around your third party? What kind of risks are your third-party AI going to bring into your environment?
Using transcription, like Richard said, like how many people think about that?
Right.
What Richard was saying, about his transcription.
Right, just not using transcription when there's sensitive information that's being discussed, or when Okay, so I think it becomes something even bigger than that now because every SaaS product out there has AI built into it. Every customer service product out there
Mhm.
has AI built into it. All the accounting software that's coming in, they have AI built into them. How do you put controls around, and I don't have these answers necessarily, I have some ideas, but how do you put controls around that? I think having good security practices around your supply chain is imperative in today's society. Not just with AI, but with everything you do with a third party. You need to understand, how is this information being affected inside our company? How is it being shared outside of our company? How is it being transmitted in between? There needs to be a good system in place. I think this is one of those things where us as a community, we don't always have good systems that are repeatable in place. And that's one of the things that I'm always striving for, and I want to encourage you all to as well. Come up with good systems that are repeatable, that you can then quantify what your security looks like. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing good. Okay. So for those of you that work in regulated fields, I'm just waiting for when there's going to be an addition to the CMMC that is the AI portion specifically of that regulation. I mean, it's brand new. It was just at the end of last year that it actually went into law that all of the new federal contracts require a certain level of CMMC certification. Seems kind of weird saying certification after CMMC because it's in the acronym, but
ATM machine.
ATM machine, yes, exactly.
The new ref should cover it a little bit.
Are you talking like the new NIST 800-171 rev coming out?
No, the new CMMC Rev 3.
Okay. Oh, so you think they're gonna include?
They already announced, no, they announced that it's covering everything that's in 171 Rev 3.
Okay. Cool. So, yeah, just seeing those federal regulations, there's also things like every state is coming up with their new privacy laws and increasing their privacy laws if they already have them in place. They're adding on more fines for any violations. And now we have AI in the mix. We need to be making sure that we know where our information is going.
Mhm.
So this first question is one of those that when I read it, I was like, oh, this doesn't just hit board members. It says specifically, does the current board possess adequate expertise to properly and effectively perform oversight of our use of AI?
That's a good question.
That's a great question for the board, but it's a great question for every one of us. And this goes back to where I was talking about the continuous learning towards the beginning.
You know, matrix multiplication?
Matrix multiplication? No.
No, I was being funny when you said what.
Oh.
Question on that.
So, yeah, this is one of those things where, are you talking about like using a matrix for multiplication like we do in elementary school? Something different?
No, Calc 4.
What was that?
Calc 4, like dimensional multiplication.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
Calculus.
fancy math.
Well, that's how the AI does the math, so I was.
So that would actually be a good thing for me to go and learn about because AI is doing math in this method, you said?
What's how the weights like? So like that's how the weights are actually utilized for the AI to do the pathing, it's doing matrix multiplication and like.
In its
some-
LLM,
Yeah, like that's what like.
that's how it actually gets to where the answer is and starts pulling it. All right, thank you for helping with my continuous learning tonight. I like it. No, this is one of those things where we all need to be continuously learning and not just asking, hey, somebody else who's on the board like Jacob. Do they possess the adequate expertise to properly and effectively perform oversight? Or do we all possess the adequate expertise in our areas to understand what's a good way to use this and what's not? What are good pieces of information to share and what's not? All right, this is the last of the question slides. So there's a question on here. There were some other questions on there that go back to the supply chain. But I thought one of the that third question there was very interesting. Looking at AI drift. So going back to how AI makes its decisions and weights, given the right amount of information from the right resources, its answers can be changed. So that AI that was helping you in one way can drift and be missing out on other things. Again, there needs to be some good oversight on what you're getting from AI. So what are we up against from a cybersecurity standpoint? I think you've all probably seen the MITRE ATT&CK framework. It's so much fun to dig into when you're feeling one of those technical moods and you just want to find out about what it is that Richard does on a daily basis to other people's networks with permission every single time. Yeah. But there's also the MITRE Atlas framework.
Oh.
And this is very specifically just like the MITRE ATT&CK framework, but for AI. It shows all these, I mean, it's pretty much the same processes. You have your reconnaissance and privilege escalation and defense evasion, like it's all the same processes. But now there are all of these different methods of doing each one. And there are APTs out there that are already using these to affect our AIs, our friendly neighborhood AIs. Some of these are theoretical, so you're gonna dig in and be all excited about one, and I've done this. And you get to a certain point and there's like, oh, there's really no proof of concept here. But then there's some of the other ones that there are proof of concepts and you can try them out on, as much as you want as well. Just a fun thing for you all to dig into.
That's cool.
So with this, as we're addressing AI as an industry, I like to look at this in different levels that all affect each other. Me personally, how am I using AI, both in my personal life and in my career? What kind of controls do I put around AI in my personal life and in my career? In my position, how do I help with my business expansion in a way that keeps the business safe, in a way that keeps our customer information safe, keeps intellectual property safe? And I think that everything that we do, I'm a huge fan of the butterfly effect kind of philosophy. Everything that we're doing along the way, even if we're not doing something that has an immediate global outreach, when we're helping our community, when we're taking care of our own mental space, when we're taking care of how we are handling things in our relationships, that works its way through and improves things on a global level. So I've been throwing out a lot of challenges. I want to challenge you all just to keep that in mind, that it's not just with AI, but in everything you do, in all of your relationships, personal, work, that's going to affect others that affect others. So just do the best that you can to do good things for them. All right. And thank you very much. I put my LinkedIn because that's the only social media that I actually get on. Sometimes I have other accounts, but I often get in trouble for not visiting there when other people post things. They're like, did you see this? And yeah, I'm just not on the other ones so much.
That's
Unless-
healthy. That's healthy though. We should all learn from that.
I like to think so. Can you say that a little louder?
We should all learn from your good behavior and
Thank you.
example for
Thank
good
you.
mental health. Social media is the devil.
Yes, yes. It's more, I like to think of it more as Agathokakological.
Bring it back to the start.
Right. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. And thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Esquire. That was very informative.
That was definitely a very solid and concise exploration of, I think, something we've all been thinking about a lot. It was good.
Thank you. Are there any questions or things that we have 3 minutes before we're usually done here? Anything anybody wants to bring up?
OpenAI just released a really cool local model you can run to detect PII before you upload it into stuff.
Oh.
Sick.
OpenAI has a new, it's basically like a DLP for AI
It's
that's locally run. on
No,
your
it's just a
system?
straight up model you run yourself. It's like an embedding style model, so you can use it to rip out or mask the data before you put it into other stuff. If you run it on edge devices, it's really low compute.
Like sanitizing the data before it processes
Before-
the.
Yeah, before it leaves your device, because you can run it with like Windows on that one.
Okay, cool. So that was OpenAI that released it. Does it have like a code name or something that we should?
I think it's called, I can pull it up. It's like privacy something. It's on their Hugging Face repository.
I have a friend from an old
Privacy
job.
filter.
Privacy Filter is the OpenAI release that helps you sanitize your data before it releases any PII.
You can just do whatever you want with it, but yeah, use it for detect PII locally on your machine.
Yeah, I have a friend who he's been working on a project of how to do DLP in a modern environment with good search function, not using AI.
I mean, how do you do DLP in general without actual data classification and proper labeling? Because otherwise, you really can't.
Right. I mean, well, we as humans look at things using our own heuristics for
That's true.
creating those labels at the beginning. So if there's a system out there that can look for those same kind of heuristics, that AI system, it could be doing that classification for us.
That's true. I've yet to see it.
How do you guys, like the third party stuff, right? Like I struggle a lot with, like you're mentioning all the SaaS platforms integrate with AI now, right? Like how do you even begin to attempt to make sure that they're responsibly using AI? Like how do you even know, are they using their own model, right? Like are they using a local model? Or are they just pumping all of your stuff into OpenAI's APIs?
Right. So you're looking at the third parties in the supply chain with all the SaaS applications that have AI built in. How do you know what they're doing with your data? That is a really good question. There are some tools out there that help you watch basically the egress of your data. Yep, and I know there's some other tools out there that will look for your data, so you can use some sort of canary, like you can put a piece of data out there that should, like it's something you made up. And then it can scrape for that. But I think like right now, there's a lot of trust that goes into the contracts. And
Yeah, I love that response. It's in the contract.
Yeah.
in the contract,
You know,
it
the
must
salesperson
be,
you're talking
It must
to,
be
you
true
know,
and
you're
it
probably
must be
valid
you
and
know,
yeah.
back and what they're doing, right?
no, we keep coming back to DLP. I think that DLP is gonna be, data loss prevention is gonna be a bigger and bigger thing with AI.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
Absolutely.
making sure that you have, everything tagged properly and that you're actually auditing in a good way to be able to see what's happening with your data. It's pretty much the only way that we're going to be able to do it from an internal, like inside our company standpoint.
I also think in the business enterprise sense, is AI going to be more expensive or is it going to be cheaper? Because it seems like everything right now, AI is based on investor money. They're kind of burning that money. So when you have a business, are your tokens going to be more expensive in the future? Or is that something you have to budget for, or is AI ultimately going to be cheaper, more efficient?
I literally saw a joke earlier on, I think, Reddit today, with that exact same premise, and the response was basically, it's gonna get expensive, and you're gonna have to hire more employees physically to do the same work, because you can't use the AI, because it's too expensive.
Yeah, so tokens.
I think it's gonna diverge. I think you're gonna get better value by running like local, finely tuned, dense models.
Yeah.
100%.
Than state of the art stuff, because like I've been playing around with like some of the older Quen models, because I started a little bit ago on this. So I'm using Quen 3 and I'm getting better performance out of like very specific tasks. Right. Than even like Opus 4.7.
Yeah.
Just because it's like trained on, it's fine tuned on my data, even though I can run it on like a single GPU, it's nothing. Super
Right.
cool.
I've seen that quite a bit where there's a lot of the SaaS applications are starting to use small language models instead of large language models because they want to be very focused and specific on what their AI can do.
And I think we'll see a lot more of that.
Those are pretty cheap to run in the grand scheme of things.
Comparatively as well.
Yeah, I do agree. I think we're gonna see, the specialization of AI. So I think we're gonna, just to put in generic terms, we're gonna have the X-ray AI, we're gonna have the MRI AI kind of stuff. We're gonna have the mechanic AI, very small data sets that are very specific and well-trained, where that first pass is probably 90-95% accurate with just a human just double checking once in a while for QA purposes, essentially.
To stem those two thoughts, both you on the cost of AI going up potentially and on running your own local models, we're seeing very quickly right now, investors are starting to lose money on AI, and you can tell because there's articles being written about it, and we're seeing more and more kind of behind the scenes things like Mythos is probably an effective tool. Mozilla has been pushing a bunch of fixes that they just found that were big. I mean, I don't know if you guys heard, there was a massive fingerprinting vulnerability that fingerprint.com just found in Tor and just anything Gecko derived. It was huge because it would write to a database in a specific array in a specific pattern, and you could fingerprint until the browser itself fully restarted, until the process ended. That pattern was always the same across multiple sessions, whether or not you wiped it. So for a long time, people were fingerprintable through that, like probably over a decade now.
Right.
So stemming back, we see that fix coming out. Geez, sorry,
You were
that was
saying
a
how
fresh thing.
it's like Mythos is really becoming effective.
Right, there's a lot of obfuscation around the specialization of these tools now, and that kind of obfuscation with all the money going into it kind of makes me think of, now I was very young for the 2008 financial crisis, but whenever there is a bubble, there is fraud leading up to it, there's
Oh, yeah.
obfuscation of things. And I think there's not fraud in the legal sense. I don't think there's anything prosecutable. I think people are just lying their asses off about what can be done with it and propping up what, I mean, Shopify has an AI. Fucking why? You know, what for? What's that do? The thing I think that's going to happen, this is speaking from someone who's working in data security and in a recycling center right now that gets a lot of bulk hardware. I think a lot of these companies it's gonna come down to the wire for their investors, they're gonna liquidate, and we're gonna see an interesting period of sovereignty where people are actually owning their own models, hosting it, maintaining it, and at least that's what I would hope to happen. That introduces an issue of scalability, but that also deals with the availability aspect of it. Because when another company owns it, if you're a renter, you're liable to the contract, right? If you're an owner, it's on you. That was my rant, sorry.
Let's go, fair ends.
I like. Yep, I think that, like, I can totally see where you're coming from with that, that it's getting more expensive just to run, it's harder for them. I mean, you look at the price of RAM, it's going way up because there's a demand largely due to AI. And so both like things like you were talking about, like the data sovereignty or the AI sovereignty and the small language models, I think that like those kinds of things that are scaling it back and making it more specific are going to really affect how people do business with AI in the future. And as far as it becoming more expensive, I kind of know this is just me imagining, you know, what the possibilities are. But we often see this push to the masses that is cheaper because you're pushing to the masses. And then once the masses are dependent, the price goes up.
Oh, yeah, every single time.
And so I see that happening as well. But then I also imagine as AI gets better, takes over more things. There was a slide on here that I had a lack of purpose for people. There's gonna be like either job shifts in ways that we can't see, which always comes with technology,
Mm-hmm.
or there's gonna be less need for people to do what people do. And if it gets to that point, I think you're gonna see the price come down because it'll just become a normalized part of society.
I think you're right. Good observations.
Well said.
All right, so you guys all ready to go out now?
Yeah,
All right.
where are we going?
Did